Good morning, students. Happy Monday. I hope you had a lovely weekend. So here I'm showing you our lesson plan because for Monday through Wednesday of this week, you will have review worksheets on geometry. So I know that geometry has been a little bit more challenging than the math that we're used to. So for Monday, you have a circumference of circles review sheet. For Tuesday, you'll have a review of finding the area of right triangles. And for Wednesday, you will have reviewing the area and perimeter of rectangles. So there are already 3 videos on all of these concepts for Monday through Wednesday. So you can go back to last week for the circles video, then for the triangles video, and then for the rectangles video. However, today, Monday, after our normal 11 o'clock meeting where we go over all the expectations for the week, there will be a Zoom meeting reviewing math. So, I'm going to put after 11. And then also you can schedule a one-on-one for math. So if I've noticed that you're either struggling with math or you've told me that you needed a little bit of help, I will be having a small group meeting after 11 today. And then depending on how we do with our small group meeting, we will have one at 1 o'clock if needed. And this will be the same every day this week because on Friday, on page 87, you will have a complete geometry review, which will count as a test grade. And it is an open book test, but this week will just be mainly about going over and reviewing and making sure that everybody understands all the formulas we learned this week on circles, triangle areas, and rectangle areas, making sure that everybody understands the differences between finding those solving those formulas. So we're going to begin with language arts for Monday through Wednesday, and then please make sure that you're logging on as much as you can this week on our Zoom meeting time so that we can make sure that we complete our math unit. So here for Monday for language arts, we are continuing to compare adverbs and identifying the correct adverbs in sentences. So we did think A last week in comparing adverbs, and this week we are doing think B and write C. So for think B, in the blank space, write the correct form of the adverb which is given at the end of each sentence. So make sure that as you're reading this sentence that you're paying close attention to the word in parentheses because you're going to have to use this word and modify it to make sense in your sentence. So for example, it says on number 1, who hiked blank, you or Tyler? And your adverb here is far. So would you say, who hiked far, you or Tyler? You could say, who hiked farther, you or Tyler? Who hiked farthest, you or Tyler? So notice which ones sound like they make sense and which ones don't. You're going to be doing this with 1 through 5. Remember that when you're looking at these words here in parentheses, you have the positive, which is the one that they give you. And then you have the comparative and the superlative. So you're pretty much going to take the word that's next to your sentence there, and you're going to add either ER, depending on the adverb, or EST. Sometimes you have irregular adverbs. So for example, here we have a well. And I wanted to point that out because this can't be changed in a certain way, and we're going to find out. So it says, Mary sings blank, but Laura sings blank. So we can fit well here. We can say Mary sings well, but we can't say Mary sings well, but Laura sings weller. That doesn't make sense because it is an irregular adverb. So we can find the superlative form of well here on our previous page. So for example, if this is well, then that means that the superlative is best, not weller or wellest, because that wouldn't make sense. So you would write Mary sings well, but Laura sings best. Or you could even say, but Laura sings better. They both make sense. So then for write C, it says to write a sentence on your notebook paper. If you write quite small, you might be able to fit it. But it says to write a sentence using the superlative of often. So what is the superlative of often, and then what is the comparative of well? So remember, when words end like this in en, sometimes you would put the word most before the word. And we learned that last week, but just to refresh, you wouldn't say oftener or oftenest. You would say most often. So just to give you a little hint for the first one, you would write a sentence using superlative, so you would write a sentence using most often. For number 2, we already learned the comparative and superlative form of well, so you're going to go ahead and use the comparative form, which we just went over, and it's also on the previous page. So here for remember D, we are going way back to plurals. So you're just going to write the plural form, more than one of each of these words. And then here on the bottom, you're just going to underline the correct word or words in parentheses that makes sense. So it gives you 2 options, which makes it much easier. And you're just going to underline which word or set of words is the correct form in these sentences. And here for your spelling work, we have lesson 24, which isn't actually a list. It is a review of lists 19 through 23. So instead of having a new list, as you know, after every 5 lists, we have a review. So you're going to follow the directions on each page with the designated list that you're practicing. So here on page 93, for example, it wants you to read the chapter 19 pattern words. And I want to highlight that because sometimes with these review pages, the students think that you have to follow the directions for all of the lists. So make sure that you're paying close attention to the directions because you only have to do this exercise for the chapter 19 pattern words, and that just means these 12 right here. It wants you to circle the letters in each word that make up the VCCV spelling pattern. So just remember that VCCV, as we learned before, is vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel. And you're going to circle those in blue. And remember again, just these sentences, just these words, 1 through 12. And it says there may be more than one VCCV spelling pattern in a word, which that means there may be a long word that has it twice. So you're going to circle those in blue. And then just continue following the directions for 2 and 3 using only chapter 19. So keep that in mind. You're not focusing on any other list on this page, just the first 12. And this is just a reading reminder that we have our last 3 chapters of the Phantom Tollbooth this week. So chapters 18 through 20 will be on our read-alongs from today through Thursday, and then we will watch the movie on Friday morning. So please plan to log on after Bible time so we can watch the original Phantom Tollbooth movie together.